I was there, man.
I was there.
And I was there.
I was there, man.
But baby, I was there, man.
It's Jerry here to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Soul Lyric. Details will be at the end of the episode. Hey.
Howdy, gents.
Yes, sir. Gordie, welcome. So just quickly to give you a setup, man, this is the show I Was There, Man. We're collecting anecdotal and cool little rock and roll stories. Preserving concert moments is how it started, and then it just kind of spilled over into collecting cool anecdotal stories from people. Like Triggered, this my first introduction to you was a cool I Was There, Man moment. I was thinking it was the summer of 91. I was walking down Queen West down by Spadina, and I hear this music coming out of the Cameron and a heat wave, and the windows are open. I look in there, and there's this guy standing up on the bar, just rocking the place. And we're like, me and the girl, like, wait, who's that?
The Cameron House Rib Joint, we called it. That group was called Rib Joint, and we used to set up on the bar. There were no microphones. They never had live music in the front room of the Cameron. But they had an old piano against the wall. I think it was more just for decor, And so, yeah, we set up on the... I stood up in the bar. They moved a few booze bottles back and had the big stand-up bass. And we had a drummer just playing a snare drum and one cymbal next to the beer taps. And Mr. Chill took his saxophone and would walk the bar. And we had different cats show up and just sit against the wall and play the piano. It filled the room with music. It was so cool.
Amazing memories, man. Yeah, that was great stuff.
There was a connection that you and I have that you don't know about, is that I worked on Molly Johnson's self-titled album, and you recorded guitar on a track, and I have to admit, for years I thought it was a Molly track. It was 100 Cigarettes, and only to find out a couple days ago that it's your track. And so I wanted to find out from you, because I worked on the mix, not on the record, with Richard Benoit, the engineer. And I wanted to find out from you who did it better. Did you guys do it better as Big Sugar, or was it done better from Molly Johnson and you playing on it?
I don't know. I mean, the Big Sugar version is, we took basically a Johnny Cash song and made it into like a Toots and the Maytals kind of reggae thing. Of course, Molly took a totally different approach, but it's one of those songs where, if you can put enough of yourself into the lyric, it's really any way you want to do it, it will work.
And it was co-written by Dan Gallagher, correct?
Yeah, I gave Dan Gallagher a writing credit on it because that was his concept. He said, you need to write a song like The Man in Black. You need to write like a Johnny Cash kind of song, talking about, I waited so long for you to call that I smoked 100 cigarettes. And my mother said those exact same words to me. Of course, I didn't give her writing credit. But she, Dan, that was a funny turn of phrase. He was great for coming up with, like, digging a hole in my heart is another Dan Gallagher lyric. He had an interesting way to come up with a little turn of phrase. Couldn't write an entire song, but he could write a part of a song that would be really cool if it was a song. So like, hey, that counts, man. Keep giving me those little pieces of something that would be cool if it was a song, and we'll make a song of it.
Just get the hook.
Yeah. My mom said she when she was dating my dad, she was a nurse, and I guess they had a fight about something. So she kind of gave him the cold shoulder, and she went home and waited for him to call. And
there it is. Waiting for him.
There it is. He waited around. She's just sitting by the phone in her dorm at the nurses' college, smoking cigarettes, waiting for my dad to call.
We've been talking a lot to music fans, and the idea of I Was There, Man, is what was the most impactful show you went to? Quite often it's a silly story at 17 or a crazy story at 17 years old or something. And because you grew up in Southern Ontario, right across the way from the border from Detroit, Do you have any crazy show? Was there one show that was the most impactful for you? Was it
easily.
Kiss in '77? Was it, was it some blues guy?
Everybody has it's usually your first one, your first show. If you were lucky enough to have a really amazing first rock concert, I think I was 13. And my dad, when I was 13, me and my friends took the bus across the border because Rush was coming. We went across on the tunnel bus, 35 cents, walked along the river in Detroit, stood outside the Cobo Arena box office, stood out there for hours in sub-zero weather to get Rush tickets, their Hemispheres tour. We wanted to get Rush tickets. We loved Rush so bad. We had to get tickets. So we waited, and we got our tickets. And then we came on with our tickets. Never told our parents that we were fixing to do this the week of the concert. Now, this is like 6 months later. Yeah, they'd sell the tickets way in advance. 6 months later, we're getting ready to head out and go to the concert. And you got a bunch of Italian, Portuguese, Ukrainian parents looking at these little boys going, you do what? No, you don't do this. We don't do this. You don't go to this concert. It's like, well, we already bought the tickets. No, not for you. So I'm calling up my friends, and we've all got the same situation. The parents all found out, and they ain't having it. Oh my God, the weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. We were just destitute. It was like life ceases to have any meaning. We were just freaking out, and there's just utter turmoil in these three houses. And finally, the three dads met out on the sidewalk. I can't forget. These three dads are standing there, and these are all like, dads who grew up, they were born in the Depression, lived through World War II. Now they're standing on a sidewalk in Windsor, Ontario, in their plastic sandals, looking at each other going, oh, what do you think? Do we let the boys go? I don't like this rock and roll, the drugs and all this. This is the 70s, Parents were scared of all that stuff. Didn't have particularly cool parents. And the argument just kept going back and forth. My dad finally said, I'm nuts. I'll take the boys myself. What? This is the first cool thing you've ever done. What are you doing? Were you doing what? Do you even know what you signed? He has no idea what he just signed up for. He's the guy who listens to Neil Sedaka. He's like, okay, Dean Martin, the kids, they like their music. I'll take the boys. So my dad put on his jacket and told saved the day. So we rode, and we got to ride in a car. We got to park near the arena, and we went to go in a concert. And you can't do this now. My dad didn't have a ticket. He didn't have a ticket. He's just, Air Force guy in a jacket, just walked up to the ticket taker and said, oh yeah, no, the boys, I'm just here. I'm just bringing the boys to the concert. Okay, sure. Yeah, go ahead. So he just stood, he just stood at the back in the aisle. We were way up in nosebleed seats anyway. He just stood, there's some other dads there probably just standing there like that.
Do you remember how much the tickets cost?
I still have my ticket stub.
Perfect.
I think it was like $7.50 or something. So yeah, they let him in, and
Awesome.
We got to see Goldie Ring was the opening act. They were cool, they had a cool song or whatever. Remember that? And when the house lights went down for the main attraction for Rush, the dry ice fog is blowing over the stage into the audience, and it's general admission on the floor, and it's Detroit, and it's 1977, and it's mad packed 70s rock show energy, and we're a bunch of teenagers going, oh my God, the cloud of funny smelling smoke that wafted up to the top of the arena, and my dad going,
Uh-oh.
I don't know what that is, but I'm pretty. If I had to guess, I'm going to think it's what I think it is. He probably never smelled it before. Yeah. So of course, the three of us are just like, "Oh shit, is this where it ends? Oh no, we forgot about that part. It's a full of pot smoking partiers, beer drinkers, and hellraisers."
Awesome.
But yeah, no, we stayed. We stayed for the whole show. They played all of 2112. They played. Well, they probably played for 3 hours.
Wow.
They played everything of Farewell to Kings. They don't have any short songs. They played was the Hemispheres tour, so they played the entire album. Yeah, sure, it's only 4 songs, but it's an entire album. And then they end with Working Man and In the Mood and all these other rock and roll songs. Fantastic. I saw a guy walk out on that stage with a big white double neck guitar. I'm like, what are you talking about? You can do that as a job? That was the first time my brain went, you can do that that's your job. That's what you get to do every day. That's what I'm going to do. That's it. That's what I'm going to do. I no longer need an education because I've figured it out, right? That's why you go, figure out what you want to do for a job. So no, Pop, I already know what I'm going to do for a job. No, you don't. Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So then, nothing was the same after that. Then everything was about guitars and basses and drums and records and concerts. And once that first one happened, then I was sneaking across the river about every other week. I think it was environmental because of where we grew up. At that time, there were so many really powerful radio stations just right in the center of the Great Lakes there, really strong signal. We had 3 really amazing rock and roll stations in Detroit alone. We had some really good stations in Windsor as well on AM. So just you grew up hearing popular music all the time, and the rock and roll stations they play the entire side of a Jethro Tull album just because they felt like it. That's something else you can't do. So that you didn't even have to have a record collection to have an opinion on Frank Zappa or Janis Joplin or Jim. Like I knew all the Jimi Hendrix catalog before I bought my first Hendrix record. I already heard all this stuff on the radio. Everybody's not quite so lucky. We didn't know. We thought Detroit was the center of the known universe. We thought, when we were kids, we thought Led Zeppelin's from Detroit. We thought Rush was from Detroit. We thought all these people that comes from Detroit. Right? Yes, is from Detroit, aren't they? You imagine they live there.
Well, there's been a few good ones that came out of Detroit, though. When
and there's
looking these up, some amazing people.
Yeah. So I was hearing the MC5 sing "Kick Out the Jams" every day of my life from I was, in grade school. So that has to have a trickle down effect. Yeah, our parents weren't particularly musical. My mom not at all, and my dad sang in the Catholic Church or whatever. That's that wasn't like when I wanted to get my first paying gig. I came home from I was probably 14, 15. Came home from playing at a bar reeking of cigarettes. My parents like, "Oh, you came in at 3 a.m. reeking of, oh, hell no. You got school tomorrow. This is not happening." It kept on happening. But, that's just the environment I was in. Just kept pushing me toward that.
You fast forward, is there any time where you've been in collaboration with somebody now or on the stage? Jerry brought this great question up. You're standing on the stage and you look over and you're like, holy crap, I'm on the stage with, who would it be? Would it be Alex Lifeson, Geddy Lee, or would it be somebody else?
No, I've been on stage with Alex Lifeson a number of times. Yeah, 20 years later, I was living in Toronto and playing with Molly Johnson and doing our own, had Big Sugar was already a thing and we were playing and was on a big benefit show, the Ontario Place Forum, some kind of benefit show we were doing. And Al was one of the guests and Big Sugar was on the bill too. And he got to hear Big Sugar and just, he really liked it. He was very complimentary and everything. I was like, oh, cool. That's great. Now, a couple of years after that, and I'd forgotten about that encounter, but we were making the Hemi-Vision record put out in 96. So we were making that record with very little budget and very little interest or concern from anybody. Like we were just getting away with something making that record. We weren't very important to anybody's bottom line at that time. No one was making money from Big Sugar, including us. So we're making this record and we had to go borrow some equipment from a much better studio in hopes of having possibly a better sounding record. So we went to another studio. And when we got there, the studio manager, who was a really cool guy, was going to lend us his gear. He said, look, I got a client in here right now and you can't come in past the lobby. Like you cannot. If anyone looks at you, don't look at them. If anyone talks to you, don't talk to them. You don't talk, you don't look, you don't get up. You sit down there. I will get this gear for you, but don't, so help me God, and don't come back. Just, I will tell you when it's safe to come back with it. And we're like, dude, just calm down. Okay, fine, like whatever. So we just borrow a compressor here. Come on. And as we're sitting there, Rush was in the studio recording Test for Echo. And Al walked by the lobby to get a coffee or whatever and said, hey, man, you're that guy from Big Sugar. Like, oh, hey, yeah, you're okay. Yeah, Al, nice to see you, man. He was like, yeah, hey, you guys, hey, come and check this out. The studio manager's going, I told you, the team was supposed to. Oh, yeah, no, that's cool. They're cool. We get to go through. So we get to meet Ged and Neil was practicing, and they were set up to record live off the floor. And we're looking at all the gear. Al's showing us around, and Al shows us his guitar bench and looking at all the guitars, like, wow, oh man, the white double neck. I've said on me to, it's a bit embarrassed, but I saw you play that in Detroit in 1977. I was 13 years old and my dad took me to see you guys. And is that the same one? He goes, yeah, I've just got the one. And he pulled it off the wall and said, well, you guys are making a record. Why don't you see if it brings you good luck? Yeah, I was there, man. Stands the phrase, I was there. So, like, talk about a hollaback, I had, that moment of seeing that white guitar gleaming in the lights made me say, I want to do this. Now I am doing this, and the guy hands me Excalibur and says, go slay dragons with it, which I did for a couple of years. I slayed a bunch of dragons with that guitar.
Man.
Made some of our our quintessential recordings with it, and it's in videos and pictures, and eventually I went and bought several of my own, and I gave that one back to Al, and now that guitar lives in the Museum of Canadian Culture or something in Ottawa. It's in a museum under glass now. Gibson guitar made, what do they make, 150 of them or something, exact, like Murphy Lab relics, exactly every nick and scratch on it, an exact replica. They made them for Al, and 150 special edition, with Al's signature on them. And so I got a call from Al saying, hey, thanks for giving me back the guitar, but anyway, I got you a little something you might, to make up for it. And so I got this thing, and it's having held it for a couple of years, it's remarkable. Like, to the nanogram, it's exactly the same weight. It responds the same way. It feels exactly like the guitar I made Hemi-Vision. And it has every nick and scratch on it, meticulously recreated by the Gibson guitar people. Now, the thing, I'm telling you, but I put some of those scratches on there. It's like every bit of every wear mark that Alex Lifeson put on it. No, they don't say. Also, that guy from Big Sugar put this scratch on it underneath the string right here. He was using a metal thumb pick, and he put it. With this little disclaimer.
Love it.
So now I have my new old Alex Lifeson guitar, and it's in my studio, and I use it at home. It's a sort of a place of honor at the table.
I know you got other influences, but Jerry and I have been kind of talking about it since the reality that we're going to be speaking with you. And both of us were always really dug your nod to old school blues guys. You're wearing the suit, you got, the killer guitars, even to the point where you're playing a hollow body sitting down. So it's
sponsored by Hugo Boss. He looked great.
Yeah. And so, Lightning Hopkins, John Lee Hooker, who were some of the guys that maybe you wish you could have been able to work with or been able to collaborate with in the blues world?
Well, yeah, most of my blues heroes, they'd already passed on, by the time I was old enough to have even done that. I got to see B.B. King. I got to see Albert King. I got to meet Albert Collins. That was a really big one. Albert Collins,
the Iceman.
That was a very potent moment. Is going to see Albert Collins on a bill with Robert Cray and Buddy Guy. And both of those guys lit it up. They were like, they were going on before Albert Collins. I'm like, wow. I mean, Robert Cray's got a big song on the radio right now, but everybody knows who Albert Collins is. But yeah, I mean, Buddy Guy is really famous too. But I wonder how Albert Collins ends up at the end of the bill. Oh, I know why. Nobody wants to go on after Albert Collins. You don't. I watched Albert Collins annihilate the entire Ontario Place Forum with 3 notes. I was absolutely gobsmacked at the guy's tone and his the intentionality of his playing. There was no showing off. There was no look what I practiced doing. Everything was just like words coming out of his mouth. Anyway, I just
on
that's
half a neck, right? He always had that capo, right? Like
that's the gold standard. Is this guy? You do more with less if you just really mean it. And I got to meet him after that show. I was, like I said, I was floored. And the promoter took me downstairs to meet him. Like, oh, this is great. I get to meet Albert Collins. Are you kidding me? Meet Albert Collins. So what do you think? I met him like in a lavish green room where he's drinking champagne with a bunch of fine ladies. No. Albert was standing at the door of his tour bus with his driving gloves on, with his arms folded, counting his band members getting on the bus, because Albert drives his own bus. Yes.
Yeah, that's
you
badass.
drive your own. Oh, bro. He's like, yeah, no, man, I'm in charge. I'm in charge of my band. I'm in charge. Well, I go where I want to go. Like, okay. Yes. Yeah, Daddy, that's it. And watch get in his bus, pull the big door closed, back it out of the arena, and drive up onto the Gardner and gone. I was like, there goes my guy right there. To this day, I do the driving, man. And it doesn't, every day I get in the vehicle and crank it up and drive my band. That comes back to me. Never once have I put on my driving gloves and went, yeah, awesome. Albert Collins, baby.
Love it. Love it. I saw you put up a post the other day, the boys, the rhythm section, laying down a little dub piece. And the passing of Sly Dunbar this week. And I know you got Jamaican connections and 1 foot in reggae and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
And any thoughts?
yeah.
Did you ever meet the man? Did you ever, you've had many travels to Jamaica.
I saw him play a number of times, and I never got to meet him face to face. But I had been emailing with him before COVID. We were going to do a project together. He was going to tour with Big Sugar as our drummer. COVID happened. And then after COVID, he no longer had a work visa for the US or Canada. All that stuff had expired, and then I didn't realize his health was also not very good, and his management sort of said, yeah, it's hard for him to travel, like he's got some back issues and some other health issues. But we were prepared to take care of all of that. But then, after COVID, there were, as everybody recalls, there were a few false starts of, okay, touring's on again, but it kind of isn't. There has to be social distancing. You have to take your temperature before entering the venue. There's no balcony. So we started and stopped touring a couple of times, and it just never happened. Of course, now I'm smacking myself because things are what they are, and it wasn't meant to be, I guess, but it was a real kick being able to put together a Dropbox playlist of Big Sugar songs for Sly and hitting send and sending it to him. So, and I have an email from Sly Dunbar saying it would be really great for you to go back and play in Canada because you were such a big influence. You're very important to a lot of musicians there. Like, what? Wow, man. So I have, I've been really fortunate. I'm not left wanting very much because I have gotten to work with and be in close contact with some of my heroes and people I've really looked up to. And they say, don't meet your heroes because they'll disappoint you. Someone who's not disappointed in me is Billy Gibbons. I spent many hours with Billy Gibbons, and he has never failed to impart every possible bit of wisdom and just be encouraging and just treat you like a contemporary. You know what I mean? Like 12-year-old me would be absolutely losing it, but we're discussing the finer points of guacamole over over a basket of chips. Like that's pretty cool. And talk about somebody who's not lost an ounce of their potency as a guitar player. Gibbons in the 70s is unmatched for tone. Talk about blues guys. He's right up there. But to sit in the studio with him and watch him play, I'm just breathless listening to the sound coming out of the guitar. And I've had the opportunity to sit a couple of times in the studio and press record and watch him play a solo on somebody's record. Like, I'll just point to you when it's time to play. I pointed and Billy Gibbons played the guitar. I'm like, okay, I'm good now. Good. If I never record another thing, I'm probably okay.
Hey folks, Jerry here to tell you about Soul Lyric. That's soullyric.com and Soul Lyric app on Instagram. That's SOULYRIC, all one word. It's an AI-powered platform that transforms the song lines you love into a mirror of self-discovery. I tried it out by entering 3 songs I love, and it spit back a description of the guy I wish I was. Look for links in the description. That's soullyric.com.
Yeah,
love it.
Well, we could talk to you for hours.
We could, but I see a countdown happening.
Yeah, I've got to do a sound check and a show tonight. We're out here actually promoting a 30th anniversary edition of Hemi-Vision, the album.
Yeah, see your post.
I got tickets. I'm seeing you in Vancouver on the 6th. I'm going to be there.
There'll be a couple of big old double neck guitars out there.
Perfect.
Nice.
I tried to get an accessible seat here in for Toronto at the Danforth Music Hall, but they were sold out. So I couldn't quite get one of the accessible
time around.
seats. I'm disabled. Yeah, next tour. Next time you come through.
Let me talk to my manager about that. There must be something we can do. Is there not?
Well, I was going to show up. I'm a busker, Gordie. I was going to show up outside the venue and play outside the venue. Trying to coax you out anyway.
All right. Well, listen, man. Hopefully I see both you guys down the road here, please.
Can't thank you enough for this,
Can't
Gordie.
tell you.
Thank you.